Hello, my name is Jessica Williams, and I'm interviewing for the Director of Special Education position at Tulsa Legacy Charter School. I'm here to answer 3 questions for you. Who am I? What is my why? And my 90-day plan. So, I am a native of Ardmore, Oklahoma, where I got all of my schooling. I went to Prairie View A&M University, where I received my bachelor's in psychology, and I began my educational career in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. For 8 years, I taught in the resource and inclusion settings for primarily mild, moderate disabilities, with a few outliers. The last 2 years, I have been in Tulsa, Oklahoma as a director of special education at a local charter school system. And I've learned so much in the transition from teacher to director. So, the first is, just like students, managing adults requires some differentiation. So, one thing that drives me as a director is getting to know my team. One teacher may require a more hands-on approach to protocols, procedures, and teaching strategies, whereas maybe you might have a more seasoned team member who requires just some check-ins and helpful hints, reminders, and ideas. It just ranges, just like you would differentiate and accommodate in a classroom. That same level of care has to take place in managing adults. And so that is a major thing that drives me now, especially because I had to learn the hard way. Just like you bump your head as a new teacher, that same growth happens as an administrator. And so, with that being said, another thing that drives me is being a servant leader. You have a much smoother administration when your team knows that you are not just a delegator, meaning you are not just telling people what to do, but you are willing to roll your sleeves up and get in the trenches with the team. And that's also demonstrating my knowledge base. And so that builds a level of trust too. People are at ease when they feel like you know what you're talking about. So being able to display my level of knowledge, my big personality, and even bigger heart so that we can service students to the best of our ability. I'm a wife and a mother. I have 2 children, 7th grade and 5th grade. And so I take into consideration the level of education that I want my children to have as a parent. And I take that same drive and passion into the students that I serve, because ultimately every student is somebody's child. And that mom, that dad, that guardian wants the best for their kid just like I do. So there's a large responsibility to be my best, even when I don't feel like it, because students are relying on me to have all the supports in place so that they can be successful. And so, that's kind of a mix of my beliefs and who I am as an administrator and an educator. So, let's skip over to my 90-day plan. So, I would first want to know if the district is under any corrective action, any non-compliance, investigate what steps have been taken and what steps need to be taken so that I know up front what has to be done for the district, so that we can not be sanctioned, so that we can not be monitored by the state, so that we are doing what's best for children, ultimately. So once I've assessed the current condition of the department, if there's no corrective action steps that need to be taken immediately, I want to begin planning for the upcoming school year. So that is knowing who's on the team, assessing what needs the department has as far as personnel, and working with our HR department or whoever's responsibility that is to get people in the door so that we can be as close to fully staffed as possible. It's so hard. And it's hard enough doing the job that we do. It's so much harder not having the amount of people we need to do it. So working with our HR department to strategize on how to get people in the door. Secondly, I want to make a list of every student with an IEP in the district and take special note of the incoming students so that I can make sure that as a director, I have done the proper transfer protocols, making sure that they have all the services they need, working with any contractors if need be, so we can provide those secondary services if we don't already have that available, and making a calendar of tentative IEP dates for every student in the district so that that calendar is shared with the respective teachers and leadership at each school, and we know we're operating under the same timeline. We know what's coming up. We know who needs to be communicated with. So we're not guessing. There's no surprises. And as a director, I would check that weekly to make sure we don't have any new students that need to be added. And if so, making sure that happens. I would also want to make IP at a glance binders for all of the incoming teachers, the gen ed teachers, so that they know what services they need to provide in their gen ed setting, and that we can sign acknowledgement forms so that we ensure that every student has what they need and every teacher knows what services they are to provide. And lastly, prepare some special education professional developments for special education and for general educators.